Hello, my friends. Thank you for coming back this week. Today is a dairy day. As you can see, there is a lot of milk there, and there's actually still more in the fridge that I will pull out later. But yeah, I have been having a lot of dairy days lately because our cows, now that they are on green pasture, have increased. We get an extra 2 gallons a day now. We were getting 6 gallons a day, and now we are at 8 gallons a day, sometimes even a little bit over. So that means I process milk often now. It was actually getting, surprisingly, 6 gallons a day was actually, I was actually barely able to make a will of cheese a week because our cows also provide for other families as well, which is a huge blessing. But yeah, I was barely getting enough to make a will of cheese a week for a family. But now that the cows are on pasture, getting that extra 2 gallons, a little bit plus every day, has definitely made it where I am having to make cheese multiple times a week now. So yes, lots of dairy days these days. Anyways, so what I've done is skimmed off the cream on all of those jars, and now I am pouring them into my cheese pot. I always give them a good shake before I pour them in, make sure I get most all that cream off there, you know, the little extra bits that stick to the jar, and I'm pouring it into my cheese pot. I am making a cheddar cheese today. Sorry for the background noise. The kids are riding the quad and lots of busyness happening. And little Mr. Amos is a bit opinionated these days. So, what's wrong? And I don't know if you can hear chirping, but we have lots of little chicks here as well. One of these days I'll show you. I'm actually really excited. Joel is working on, we're off grid, as you all probably know, but since we've had chicks, we have to run the heat lamp 24/7, which means the generator is pretty much running 24/7 because we have not been getting enough sunny days. It's been pretty cloudy lately. So that's a lot of gas we're going through. So we are actually working on, hopefully this weekend we'll have it buttoned up. We are taking our little red shed outside, and we'll show you this. And we are clearing it out and going to put a wood stove in there. We have an extra one that was in our fifth wheel that we used to live in. We're going to put that inside of the red shed and heat it, and it's going to be nice and toasty, and the chicks are going to live there, and we're going to see. Hopefully it works. I mean, you know, in the old days they didn't have heat lamps. And we have heard stories of people just having their chicks close to their wood stoves. So that's what we're going to attempt and see how that works out. And hopefully it will be perfect and we will save a lot of money on gas with the generators. But anyways, it looks like I'm skimming off more cream, and this was another batch that I had pulled out of the fridge. This is another type of cheese. So in the big cheese pot on the stove is going to be cheddar cheese, and then this is going to be farm cheese. Farmhouse cheddar, I think it might be called. I don't know, but anyways, it's just farm cheese. It's a very basic, super easy cheese, no fail kind of thing, and it's not an aged cheese, so it's a fresh cheese. But anyways, and those are all my jars of cream. I got a lot of cream off of that many jars of milk, and so I will actually be making butter later in my food processor because that is what I have now. My blender went out on me. My KitchenAid went out on me. All these things were like, the KitchenAid was a very old one that I picked up at a garage sale. It kicked the bucket. Then I went to my blender, and my blender was a very, very cheap blender, and it finally kicked the bucket. And so now I am on a food processor for making my butter, and it works just fine. So, but it does, you'll see later, I put a towel around it because it dropped out of my cupboards, and it's plastic and cheap one too. And it got a crack, it got a chip in it. So it actually, when I was making butter, the cream was splashing out. So I had to put a towel around it to help with that. Anyways, so yeah, I am just adding my milk into my other cheese pot. This actually used to be my old cheese pot. That's when I made 3-gallon batches of cheese. Now I make 6 to 7 gallon batches of cheese when I make a will of cheese, an aged cheese, hard cheese, so many different cheese terms. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm getting going. Usually on my dairy days, I do make multiple types of cheeses, and I'll do butter, and I will do yogurt or sour cream. I just try to get it all done in one day when I have this much milk I'm working with. And a tip for those who make aged cheeses: never use older than 2-day-old milk. Use that fresh morning of milk. Always use that. I always use all of that, and then I top it off with however much milk I need to do the day before, and even possibly the day before that milk. I try to do yesterday's milk and this morning's milk. That makes it the best cheese. So I have learned that the hard way. I used to use older milk to make my aged cheeses, and that always gives it, I mean, I have definitely had many cheeses that we ate and got through, but I do have to kind of disguise it and put it in casseroles and different dishes, because it does take on a bit of a flavor when you use older milk for that. So, and then as I'm waiting for my milk, my cheese milk to warm and get to temperature, I do all my dishes, wash all the jars that I had just emptied. I've noticed that I do multiple times of dishwashing on my cheese days, because you're just dirtying so many dishes. But that's okay. Definitely cheese days, I am strapped to my kitchen. That is just definitely how it works. So anyways, if you're having a cheese day, have some kitchen projects that you could work on, other things while you're waiting in between your steps on making your cheese. So here I am just checking my temperature. Cheddar cheese, you want to get it between 88 to 90 degrees is what you want to get it to before you add in your culture. And here I am. I have got my culture with cheddar cheese. You want to use a mesophilic culture, or you could add in backsplash whey, but I must not have had any on hand today. Which backsplash is your whey, your leftover whey from a previous cheese batch. But anyways, obviously I was out of that, so I just used a packet of my mesophilic culture, which you can buy online. I actually get a lot of mine from Amazon, but there's all sorts of different online companies, cheese making companies, that you can get your cultures from. And then when you add in your mesophilic culture, you let it sit for 2 to 5 minutes to just rehydrate. And so I've let that sit for that time. Now I was stirring it in very thoroughly, but very gently. And then you let it sit covered with the heat off for 40 minutes to ripen. And then while I did that, after I did that, I did a quick stir on my farm cheese. I just have it on a medium-low heat when I do my farm cheese. Actually, probably more like a medium heat, but I have a heavy bottom pot, and I just stir it periodically as I'm working all around in the kitchen until that gets to temperature, which that temperature is about 180 degrees, or a lot of people, you don't even have to use a thermometer. You can just watch once it starts getting bubbly on the top, but not a boil, just kind of foamy on the top just before a boil. That's when you want to call that good and add in your vinegar or lemon juice, whatever you prefer to use. And now I'm just hiding Joel's desk. That desk seems to just be the attract all desk. I mean, everything gets unloaded on it. And so it's just constantly tidying on that thing. But anyways, that's okay. So here I am. I have gotten an Azure order, and it was a small order this time. But I am just topping up some things that I need. And I do all jars. I store all my things in jars, which I really love. I love to look in my pantry and just see all my jars full of my different seasonings and spices and such. So this is my nutritional yeast. I'm just filling that up, and then I have a great way that I store any leftovers, like not leftovers, but any extras that like I couldn't fit into the jar. I just have a 5-gallon bucket that I store all of those little extras in, which I'll be showing you here in just a minute. And I love it because when I am getting to the end of something in a jar. Before I go to order something again, I check my bucket and I just see, okay, what's in my bucket, see if there's a refill in here, and usually there is, but if there's not, then I know, okay, I need to put that on my Azure order and make sure I stock up on that again. So I really like that method. It's just, I store it all in a 5-gallon bucket, all the extras, and I keep them in their little bags. And then I check that bucket when I'm done. Okay, I had to stop in the middle of it because my milk had come to temp. So I am adding my vinegar, and it is a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 gallon of milk. So I did 1 cup of vinegar because I did 2 gallons of milk. And you just stir it and you'll see that the curds will start to separate. Here I'm going to show you. You can see that kind of yellowish hue of the whey. And my cheese curds have separated. So I will just cover this and let this sit for a few minutes or so, probably 10 or 20 minutes, until I'm ready to strain it. And then back to filling my jars with my Azure order. And then once my jars are all filled, I take a Sharpie and write on them what they are. This was actually a dry erase marker, and that does not work. I found that they just wiped right off. So yeah, definitely use an actual Sharpie. Oh yeah, and then here's my bucket that I store all of my extras in, and I just love this method because, like I said, when I run out of a jar, I check out this bucket, see what I've got, and if I don't, then I put it on my Azure order. So really love this little system that I've got. And I absolutely love my little pantry. As you saw, there's a cloth. That's the only problem. We hang our laundry on the balcony right above this. You can't see it, but there's no top on this little pantry. So I do really want Joel to do that for me sometime, because we'll have bits of laundry like socks or cloth or something will drop in and fall on my stuff in my pantry, which is really annoying. But anyways, it's not the end of the world. So I'm just putting my jars away, but I do absolutely love this pantry. I'm so thankful Joel built it for me. It is such a huge, huge blessing. And it really, suits our family well. The only times I find it's a little bit small is when I'm getting into a lot of canning or storing up of dried meat. That's when I do find, I'm running out of room. But for the most part, it works wonderful. So I am absolutely in love with my pantry. And it's so easy to see too. Like the jar method, it's just so nice. When I come to my Azure order, when I know I'm nearing the end of the month and I'm ready to start putting it together, I just open my curtains and see what looks low or empty, and I just put that on my order. And I love it. I so love the jar method too. So here my cheese, my cheddar cheese is ready for its rennet. The culture has ripened long enough, and I am just adding in a teaspoon of rennet to a 1/4 cup of filtered water, mixing it up a bit, and then I will pour it over my milk. And then I'll mix it in very gently. You just want to be as gentle as possible when it comes to cheese making. And honestly, I don't know all the science behind it, but I do know, like I did here recently, like when you're really fast with the spoon and splashy, you're putting air, you're getting more air into your cheese, and you don't want that. You don't want to introduce more air into your milk. That's something I recently heard, but I just know you want to be as gentle as possible. Thorough, but very gentle. So I will let that pot sit for 30 to 35 minutes for the rennet to do its job, and then it will form into a curd, and I'll check the curd in just a little bit. But obviously my curds are ready to strain off, and so that's what I'm doing right now. I have this little handy bag for straining cheese in. I got it with I don't know, something. I can't remember what set I bought, but I got it with something, and it works wonderful for the farm cheese because you can just pop it in this bag, and then you'll see it's on a string, and I can just hang it right up. It's very easy. So anyways, all I'm doing is trying to get off most of the way, and then I'm going to actually pour it back into this pot, and then I will season it. So I don't think I showed it, but I split this batch in half because 2 gallons is quite a bit. So I split it in half. Half of it turned into just plain salted cheese. And the other half I seasoned with salt and dill. And that was actually a really big hit. The kids loved it just to snack on straight, like just with a spoon, eat it. It was also really good with spaghetti. I'm trying to remember what else I threw it in. I threw it in a couple different things. Oh, lasagna. Just that dill flavor actually had a really nice taste with the lasagna and the spaghetti, those red sauces. It tasted really yummy. So that was a really big hit. And then the other half that was just with salt. And you just salt to taste. So I think I did a teaspoon per gallon. About 2 teaspoons of salt for all this cheese, but play with it. I play with it every time. I'm not precise. So just add it in and taste and see what you think. But anyways, here I am hanging my cheese. And I don't hang it for very long. I do like a lot of whey still left in it. So, but anyways, there they are. Now I am getting going on my butter. So I pulled my food processor out, got that all set up. And I added in, I actually added in this whole jar, and that was because I'm always pushing, I'm always like, I want to get as much as I can in there. Well, it was way too much, and it was above the fill line, and it was getting pretty messy, to be honest. So I didn't do that again. I stuck with the fill line and did not push it again. And you can see I have a little helper. She was definitely wanting to help today. She's my girl who likes to be in the kitchen a lot. She loves helping me with everything I'm doing in the kitchen always. So she's definitely going to be into the kitchen, which is a wonderful thing. So I'm just making Joel a coffee right now, some coconut sugar. And you can see I have a wheel of cheese on the table right now. That's kind of what my house is looking right now. I've got a wheel or two going all the time, drying on the counter because I'm having to make cheese all the time these days, which is a good thing. It does feel very good to be stocking up my fridge full of cheese. Actually, I just started making Buderkaiser cheese, or buttercase is another term for it. I'm really excited about that because it's very simple. It's still a process, but it's much easier than cheddar, and even easier than Gouda. And those are my 2 main ones that I make all the time. I really like this butter case because it's very simple. So if I feel like I'm having a crazy day, but I do still need to make a cheese, I'm definitely going to go for the butter case cheese. So one of these days I am going to video that for you guys. It might be an easier one to start off with, to be honest, just because the cheddar is easy. They're all easy. It's just some take a little more time. Like the cheddar, there's a moment in there that I have to stir it straight for 45 minutes. So, that may not be the best cheese to start off with, but I still love it. And we still make it all the time. But anyways, going back to the dishes again, in between my butter making and the cheese doing its thing. And my first batch of butter is done, and that jar there is to catch all of my buttermilk. And I always get butter sticking to the top too, so I always scrape off the top a bit. And unfortunately, I had a beautiful spot where I showed you close up my lovely butter. It's nice and golden because the cows are on the pasture, and it's a beautiful, beautiful bright color. But my camera was off at that point. I had no idea, so I missed part of that. It was really annoying. So you guys don't get to see the butter close up, what it looks like. All I do is just scrape all the butter out of that into my little pot there, or bowl, whatever you have. And then I am rinsing it under cold water. And you just want to try to keep working it and rinsing it in that cold water till it comes very clear. And then I salt it to taste. I just sprinkle some salt on it, and then I kind of, I don't know if you'll see well enough, but I just kind of fold it in. So I just sprinkle my salt on top, and then I just start folding it over and over. And that also helps, I've noticed that it also helps press out even more of any of the buttermilk left in there. As each ball is finished, I put it on a little plate and stick it in the fridge until I'm all finished. And then I will bag them up in Ziploc baggies and put them in the freezer. So here I am getting sour cream going. This is actually my first time doing sour cream with a culture, and I've done sour cream with clabber before, and turned out I do like the clabber way better than doing the culture. So I will show you the clabber method one of these days, but today it's the culture. In between heating my milk to the sour cream temperature, I boiled my kettle. Joel's home, obviously, being his goofy self. Anyways, and I sterilized all of my milk equipment and the cheesecloth and everything. So, yes. And as you can see, baby is definitely growing. It's very exciting. I feel baby kicking around all the time. Everybody's saying it's a girl here. Who knows? We don't know till the end, right? Till baby's here. So with the sour cream, honestly, I just follow the culture pack to the instructions. It's very clear. I did a half a gallon worth, 2 quarts. There it is right there. Buy that online. And I cannot remember the temperature it asked me to heat it to. It wasn't very high. I can't remember what it is, but super simple. You just heat it to a certain temperature, add your culture in, let it sit 2 to 5 minutes to rehydrate, and then mix it in. And then I will pour it into my yogurt maker, actually, which I am still absolutely in love. It's literally the best way ever to make yogurt. And then I will add that into my yogurt container and then let it sit overnight. And then we had sour cream the next day. And it could have been also because I was using a little bit older milk for the sour cream. Could have been that. But I liked my clabber made sour cream much better when I culture it with clabber rather than this freeze-dried packet of culture. I'm mixing my culture into the sour cream, and then I will be pouring it into my yogurt container. It's easy as that. You just pop it into that container and you let it sit overnight on wherever you want to set it. I did find I will not set my yogurt anytime I'm making yogurt or sour cream on the fridge again, because it's out of sight. And I completely spaced. I made yogurt the other day, completely spaced that I had it on there, and it went for a night and a whole nother day on the fridge. But I pulled it down and I was like, I'm just gonna taste it anyway. It smelled good. I tasted it. It's just a little extra soury, but you just use some sweetener and some granola or berries or whatever you want to add into your yogurt, and it's just fine. So that was kind of a cool thing to experience. Like, I forgot it. It sat for a whole extra 24 hours, but it tastes fine. It's just higher probiotics in it, right? So anyways, but definitely wouldn't be a child's favorite because it is definitely more soury. And I'm just doing another batch of butter. At this point, it's the end of the day. I'm trying to get it all done, finished up, ready to be finished up. I've got the tortillas on pans there. I was actually going to make little pizzas on the tortillas for dinner that night. My cheese has finished. I didn't show you the stirring method. I just showed you basically the last spot you saw. It's probably when my phone cut off. The last spot you saw was when I added rennet. But yeah, you add the rennet, let that sit for 35 minutes-ish. Sometimes, you could even go up to an hour. You just wait till you get that nice clean cut curd when you go to check your curd. And then you just stick a knife in the cheese and lift it up. And if it pulls away real nice and it's not mushy or anything, then that's a clean cut. And then you cut your curd into about inch-sized cubes. Let them sit for 5 minutes. And then you stir for 45 minutes and you get the heat up. You want to get the heat up to 100 degrees, but you want to take the full 45 minutes to get it up to 100 degrees. So it's a very, very slow, gentle, careful process. You do not want to heat your curds too fast. And then after that, you cover them for 40 minutes. You just let them sit, no heat on, for 40 minutes. And then you will strain them off, what I'm doing right now. And I strain them I strain most of the way off, and then I strain some of the way into my second pot right there, my smaller pot. You want about 2 to 3 inches of whey in the bottom of that pot. And then I have a a colander, a mesh strainer or whatever. Metal strainer thing. Anyways, I don't know why I can never remember their names. And I got my cheese in there, and I'm just kind of a gentle steam on the cheese. So, and you want to do that for 10 minutes on every single side. You end up doing it. You end up cutting and flipping your cheese 4 times. Yeah, so I have my farm cheese done. That's going to go into the fridge, some of it into the freezer that I can turn into cream cheese later with the blender, or actually now the food processor, or just, you know, add it as like almost like a Parmesan, but because it doesn't melt, so I just add it like almost like a Parmesan on our spaghetti or anything, just to make it look pretty, or turn it into a cottage cheese, add some cream into it, and then it's a cottage cheese, and I add it into our lasagna. So anyways, yeah, the farm cheese, butter is almost done. The cheddar cheese is almost done and going to be popped into my press. And the yogurt, oh no, it was sour cream this day. Sour cream is done and in the yogurt maker. And then here Aubrey is stirring up my tomato sauce that I had just made, actually my pizza sauce. And she is putting the pizza sauce on all the little tortillas. And then we will add my homemade cheddar cheese. Not this batch, obviously, but some aged stuff already. And pop them in the oven, and then our evening is done. And that's my little meat container that I always grab it once a week, and I will go out to the big freezer outside and fill it up with my meats to thaw in the fridge. And then we got 2 new little puppies, little Jack Russells, and Aubrey is introducing them. One of these days, I will do a tour on the farm and really update you on everything around here and all the new little critters. So thank you guys for watching, and I will hopefully catch up with you guys next week. Bye-bye.